Okay, EasyIDS has now been installed. Just to go over the settings for this again, um, I've got it, even though it's a Linux system, I kept it as Microsoft Windows and Windows 7 64-bit. I have no idea why it worked, but it did work. So if it's going to work, then fine. It's meant to be a Cent OS, but it still worked. For the system, I had 2 GB of RAM. Processor, I just kept it at 1. And for the network adapter, I added 2 network adapters in there, and I bridged both so I can access it from my virtual machine. You need one for the management interface and one to be monitored on. I wanted to see real traffic, so I bridged both to my wireless adapter here. You can either do it to your Ethernet or wireless. If you have both, one or the other, and it should work fine. But you need to see the traffic, and that's the problem I had when I first set it up. I had one as internal and one as bridged, but the bridged one I was using for managing it, and for monitoring was the internal, and it wasn't seeing any traffic. So I bridged both, and I started seeing traffic. So when you get to the login for it, remember the first login, there's 2 logins. There's the login that you set up as the user for logging into it, and there's also the one for booting up the operating system. Now, the one for booting up the operating system is root and whatever password you set. The password will be the same for each account. So I just kept it lowercase password. I suggest you do the same for this exercise, and it's up and running. And the first thing it shows you is what the address, the IP address is for accessing the IDS system. So it's mine's is 192.168.0.60. So I just minimize that, and because it's a bridged adapter, just my screens went blank there. I'll just close this down. There we go. Okay, it's just resources. So I go into my browser 192.168.0.60 because you access this IDS via the browser. It just sits there. The VM sits, and then you access everything through the browser. So I put that in, and now the first login was to boot up the operating system, root, whatever password. This time it's the user account that you created, and I used admin, and it's the same password, and I just kept it lowercase password. And that's for logging into the IDS. So one's for booting up the OS, one's for logging into the IDS. So you can see we've got a number of things here. I've got analysis here, and you can see I've got some analysis going on the IP addresses that are on my network that have been used. I've got ARP, that's the ARP watch. I've got base here, which is base, which is used for detecting. You can see I've got UDP packets there. And the interesting thing about this is I can actually go into, for example, unique alerts. If I click on that one there, you will see it will take me to that particular alert. So although the interface isn't that great, there is some useful information in there, and it's based on Snort. Snort's underneath, and this is the tools used for Snort that someone's put together, or SourceForge has put together for creating an IDS. So it has some use. If I go back, you can see the traffic here, alert, group maintenance. So a lot of these things are clickable. So for example, if I put into if I come down to destination, click on UDP 1, it'll take me to that particular alert there. And you see the rules based criteria that we looked at when we talked about firewalls. So in the next menu, we've got graphs for network. You can see the network traffic that I had yesterday. I've only just put this up, so there's nothing shown here yet. And we've got Snort, and I'm getting some information back. I haven't had this up long, so there's not much information, but you can see that's green red. It will take a while before this appears, and I'll explain why just in a second. And then we've got system, and this is just looking at CPU, etc., swap files. So we've got the settings menu here, and we've got ARP watch settings, and we can go in and we can change a lot of the settings for all these. So we can go into the network settings, we can configure the config files, because being Linux based, it's all config files. The one that's the most interest here is the snort one, and there's the config file that we looked at previously. Now for the rules update, we've got the rule sets. You've got to update the rules, and you'll see that I've got SourceForge VRT certified subscription, and then I've got this key here, which is an OINT code. Now you're going to have to update the rules or it won't work, okay? And I found this out through trial and error. So what you need to do is register with snort.org. So you register with Snort, sign in. Then when you sign in, I'll just log in here. I can remember my login, that is. Yeah, it's doing something. My PC is running slow today. I suspect it's doing something in the background. Once it logs in, I'll be able to show you how to get the OINT code. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video a second till we log into Snort. Okay, welcome back. Snort's website was having problems. So I'm in the Snort website now, so I've registered and I'm go to download rules. And the rules that I need are, let's just go to the community rules. We should be able to get them somewhere. These are registered. There's the community rules there. Okay, so when I click on the community rules, I should be able to get a code, but it's the VRT rules that we're looking for. So if we come down to OINT code resources. Okay, I'm just going to pause this a second till I get the correct place. Oh, there's the community. Okay, so click on community. And in here somewhere, I'm just going to pause the video again just to find this. The website's changed since the last time I've logged in. Hello again, welcome back. Yeah, it wasn't just me, it's the way it's laid out. So in the website here, it's not clear, but to get your OINT code, once you've registered, you click on your account here. So you just click on your email address, and then this takes you into your account settings. Then you can get your OINT code from there, and you just copy that code. Then if you get any problems, I can give you my code, but you should really register yourself. Then you go into your server. So I'm just going to load this up. Oops, that's the wrong one. It's the browser I'm looking for because I'm using the browser to access it. So I'll go into there and then I paste. So make sure you've got source fire VRT. And again, you would need a bridged adapter to get internet access for this. Wait, paste your OINT code in there. I've got don't email me update. Save it and then start update. And what that'll do is update the rules for the IDS system. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, after that, what we need to do after that is we need to go into the settings for Snort again. Then we go to rule set, and you'll see that a number of them have not been ticked, and some of them have been ticked and some of them haven't. And what I realized is that some of them were not being triggered, so I wasn't seeing traffic. So for example, local rules, ICMP, info rules, and the minute I ticked some of these other boxes, I started seeing traffic on the Snort graph here. So on this graph here, I started seeing traffic as soon as I did that. And you're going to have trouble. You're going to have to run mmap against it. So run mmap to try and get a scan. I also downloaded a tool, Angry IP Scanner, and I'll show you that just now. I also ran Kali Linux against it, see if I can get some traffic going to it. But advanced port scanner, and scanned the IP range just to see if I can see any traffic there. So I'll just take these addresses out here, and I'm just going to scan the 192.168.0 range, which is the range I'm using. Scan, and while that's scanning, we may well get traffic generated. So play about with the rules. Some of them might not work. You might need to untick them again. Some of them you may well get information back on the IDS system. Go back into the browser here and go back to the graph. We may well start seeing some traffic coming through at some point on these graphs. Okay, so the last thing to look at is if we go to, well, status info and systems speaks for itself. We've got mmap there, and we've also got log viewer. Now, log viewer is kind of handy because we can go into, for example, snort log there, and we can look at the direct log itself, the dump file that it's using, and we can have a look. If I just change the number of lines to check, we can see each packet that is being logged. Now, it's not necessarily an alert, going to trigger an alert, but the traffic is being logged there, so you can actually see the traffic by Snort being logged underneath. Okay, so that's the whirlwind tour of EasyIDS. There will be a video on how to set up EasyIDS and how to get it running available just shortly. Okay, thanks for listening.